I just want our military to be G.I. Joe again. This is from Byron Donalds. Byron Donalds is a new Republican congressman in the House. He was actually one of the few that was throwing his hat in the ring during the speakership race. Now, we burnt through a lot of people during that speakership race very quickly. Kevin McCarthy, Jim Jordan, Tom Emmer, Steve Scalise, before he eventually got with the guy we have now, Moscow's favorite, Mike Johnson. But Byron Donalds did throw his hat in the ring, and he was making a go of it, and he did get support from at least a couple dozen Republican congressmen. He's seen as an up-and-coming Republican, the future of the party, you might say. Let's see what he has to say.
My position is very, very simple. Go, kill the enemy, and come home. I'm a kid of the 80s, so I like G.I. Joe. Like, I just want our military to be G.I. Joe again. I think that's what most people want. That's what I want.
So Byron Donalds here is referring to that old idea that the military is becoming too woke, is becoming too gay, it's becoming too libtardy, something along that lines. But generally the idea it's becoming too woke, and the amount of wokeness that the military is concentrating on, it's undermining its military performance. And there's only one problem with that, though, that has not been shown in any capacity when it comes to a military operation. The reason when you think about all the challenges our military faces, right? I would think about, how did we fail in Afghanistan? How did the nation building effort go so wrongly? How did we waste so much money, billions and billions and billions of dollars down the drain in nation building efforts and trying to build infrastructure and trying to work with NGOs and trying to engage in education programs? We educated some people. There are people in Afghanistan today that have education at the auspices of American investment. But the nation we tried to build is gone. Why did we fail? I would think about, hey, we had those 3 American soldiers that died in Jordan. How did the Iranian militias get a drone in to kill them? They followed the drone. How do we deal with that problem? How do we stop something like a weakness in our defenses from that from happening again? We've got all these actual problems, and we're focused on this? I mean, let me ask you a question. How often, when you hear about our nation's armed forces and Republican commentary on the big screen and talking with the public about the things we need to do to improve it, to make it more cost-effective, an audit of the Pentagon, whatever it might be, how much of it is spent just talking about this shit? The whole point of the critique about the wokeness, if it had any water to begin with, which I don't think it really does, but if it did, the whole critique is they spend too much time focusing on this when we should be focusing on other things. But the time they would focus on it still is a tremendously small amount of time, even if you gathered collectively all of the possibly considered woke material and gather it all together. The average soldier spends much more time working on the other stuff than any of this woke stuff, whatever you would call woke. So of all the problems that soldiers are facing, are the soldiers talking about increases in pay? Are the soldiers talking about different health problems when it comes to the burn pits, for example? That was a huge scandal on the Hill. That was a huge issue on the Hill. A lot of the problems that I would hear from military experts is recruitment data. Like, our recruitment numbers are down. Young people, only 7% of American young people have any interest or would consider joining the armed forces. That's a tremendously small amount of people of that subsection. Also, we have young people that are generally more obese than in a lot of other of our countries that are trying to do recruitment as well. So that's a problem we run into. That's why they have talking about lowering the standards all the time, is because we aren't hitting these recruitment data numbers. We aren't hitting these recruitment numbers. But these issues, I never hear. I never hear any of these issues. It's always this. The issue being, we concentrate too much on the woke stuff. The only people I see really concentrating that much on the woke stuff when it comes to like military issues is Republicans. The only time I could think about it where it became like a real issue between Republicans and Democrats fighting was over trans people serving in the military, which no military expert, at least one that was respected, said that that was a real national security concern that had to be addressed. So we were fixing a problem that didn't exist under the Trump administration. And I think when Tommy Tuberville's fight against the government providing transportation costs, covering transportation costs for people trying to get abortion services while in the armed forces because they're trying to cover reproductive health care costs for people in states that are stationed in states that don't have those health care services. But that's a legislative fight. You can go fight that out in the legislature. Again, I feel like, honestly, the wokeness has been built up into a big national security boogeyman. But when you talk to anybody who seriously is concerned about American national security issues, I hear concerns about recruitment. I hear concerns about national health. I hear concerns about, a whole bunch of things. I don't hear concerns about gay soldiers.
More people have died from maintaining wind turbines than they've died from nuclear power plants.
Oof. Well, what's interesting about this statement, what's interesting about this is it's technically true that wind turbines have killed more people than nuclear power. But we're talking about such minuscule numbers that it's like 7 people died to 5. Why even bring up this data? This is the strange thing about wind turbines is it feels like Trump picked a fight with wind turbines. He picked a fight with them, said that they're killing the birds, said that they're hurting the environment, and it feels like all the rest of the Republicans just kind of fell in line. Not because it's a particularly important issue for Republican voters or that it's like wind turbines are actually like an environmental issue. It just feels like a diversion, a way of kind of saying, ha, hypocritical to the people who are trying to deal with like global warming. Like, oh, you care about global warming, but you want the big wind turbines that kill birds. It's like when you hear all the time, oh, you care about global warming, but you fly on this plane to the world leaders that want to invest in green energy. I mean, an argument from hypocrisy is already one of the weakest arguments. Not saying that somebody can't be hypocritical. It's just somebody can be hypocritical and right. If somebody was like, murder's bad, but they've engaged in murder, they'd be hypocritical. They wouldn't be wrong about murder being bad. But aside from it being one of the weakest arguments, I feel like it's just a diversion. It's a diversion from the topic. It's a way to divert from the issue investing in green energy and investing in, trying to have more renewable energy sources and just saying, well, it's all pointless effort anyway because all the energy sources are kind of dirty. That's what it feels like to me, at least. Then Donald called for Joe Biden to be prosecuted.
Joe Biden has violated the Espionage Act. He violated it as a United States Senator. He violated it as a Vice President of the United States. And he should be prosecuted for violating the Espionage Act.
To be clear, they had like a 340-page report on Biden and his handling of the classified documents, led by a Republican chair. And they could get nothing on him to show that he committed a crime. Definitely anything that, like Byron Donalds is saying, that they'd have a high enough standard of evidence to prosecute, to the point where it just became a big political sticking point to just go after his age, something unrelated to the topic at hand. So it's hard for me to believe you're going to be able to get anything that could get him prosecuted if even your own Republican investigations are not turning up shit.